Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare.
Maha-Bharata Part 1, Chapter 26. On to Badarika Ashram. Continuing from our last session concerning Puroorava and Urvashi, according to Shukadeva Goswami in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, from Puroorava came a son named Ayu, whose very powerful sons were Nahusha, Kshatravridha, Raji, Rava, and Anena. Just as the embodied soul has 6 senses, King Nahusha had 6 sons named Yati, Yayati, Sangyati, Ayati, Viyati, and Kriti. When one enters the post of king or head of the government, one is not able to understand the meaning of self-realization. Knowing this, Yati, the eldest son of Nahusha, did not accept the power to rule, although it was offered by his father. Because Nahusha molested Indra's wife, Sachi, who then complained to Agastya and other Brahmanas, these saintly persons cursed Nahusha to fall from the heavenly planets and be degraded to the status of a python. Consequently, his next son, Yayati, became the king. Yayati first married Devayani, the daughter of Shukra Acharya, who was a Brahmana, and later he married Sharmishta, the daughter of Vrishaparva, who was a Kshatriya king. Yayati ruled the entire earth. Devayani gave birth to Yadu and Turvasu, while Sharmishta gave birth to Druhyu, Anu, and Puru. But when Shukra Acharya became extremely angry at Yayati for disobeying his strict warning not to become intimate with Sharmishta, Shukra Acharya cursed Yayati to be attacked and disfigured by old age and invalidity. King Yayati responded, "O most learned and worshipable Brahmana, I have not yet satisfied my lusty desires with your daughter. All right then, you may exchange your old age with someone who will agree to transfer his youth to you." Yet, none of Yayati's sons were willing to exchange their youth with their father. However, Puru, although the youngest, was more qualified than the others, except for Yadu, who was aware of his future significant role that he was to play in Krishna Leela, and thus he refused his father's request. Puru replied, "O your Majesty, who in this world can repay the debt to his father? It is by the mercy of one's father that one gets the human form of life, which can enable one to become an associate of the Supreme Lord. A son who acts by anticipating what his father wants is first class. One who acts upon receiving the father's order is second class. And one who executes the father's order irreverently is third class. But a son who refuses his father's order is like his father's stool." And so in this way, Puru was very pleased to accept the old age of his father, Yayati, who thus took the youth of his own son and enjoyed this material world as he required. Yayati was too much attached to woman. In due course of time, when he finally became disgusted with such lusty sensual enjoyment as well as its bad effects, Yayati renounced this way of life and narrated the parable of the he-goat and she-goat, which was actually the story of himself and his first wife, Devayani. And at the conclusion of his story, Yayati said, "O my dear wife with beautiful eyebrows, I am exactly like that he-goat, for I am so poor in intelligence that I am captivated by your beauty and have thus forgotten my real task of self-realization. A person who is lusty cannot satisfy one's mind even if one has enough of everything in this world, including rice, barley, and other food grains, gold, animals, and women. Nothing can satisfy a lusty person. Just as supplying butter to a fire does not diminish the fire, but increases it more and more, the so-called endeavor to stop lusty desires by continual enjoyment can never be successful. Why, in fact, one must voluntarily cease from material desires. So, when one is non-envious and does not desire ill fortune for anyone, one is thus equipoised. For such a person, all the 10 directions appear happy. But for those too attached to material enjoyment, sense gratification is very difficult to give up. Even when one is an invalid because of old age, still one cannot give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Therefore, one who actually desires happiness must give up such unsatisfied desires, which are the root cause of all tribulations. And so, I have spent a full 1,000 years trying to enjoy sense gratification, and yet my desire to enjoy such pleasures increases day by day. I shall therefore now give up all these desires and simply meditate upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. Free from the dualities of mental concoction and freed from false prestige, I shall wander in the forest amongst the animals. The true knower of the self is one who knows that all material happiness, whether good or bad, in this life or in the next, on this planet or in heaven, is only temporary and useless. And also, one who knows that an intelligent person should not try to enjoy or even think of such things is also the true knower of the self. Such a self-realized person knows quite well that material happiness is the very cause of continued material existence and forgetfulness of one's own spiritual constitutional position. So after speaking in this way to Devayani, King Yayati, who was now free from all material desires, called his youngest son Puru and returned Puru's youth in exchange for his own old age. Yayati enthroned his youngest son Puru as emperor of the entire world and the proprietor of all of the earth's riches, and he placed all the other sons who were older than Puru under Puru's control. O King Parikshit, having enjoyed sense gratification for many, many years, Yayati became accustomed to it, but he gave it all up entirely within a moment, just as a bird flies away from its nest as soon as its wings have grown. Because King Yayati completely surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was now freed from all contamination of the material modes of nature. Because of his self-realization, he was able to fix his mind upon Vasudeva, the transcendence or Para-Brahman, and thus Yayati ultimately achieved the position of an associate of the Lord. And so, Maharaj Parikshit, descendant of Maharaj Bharata, you were born in this dynasty of Puru, in which many saintly kings appeared, and from which many dynasties of Brahmanas began.